Bunker missions in Star Citizen just went from paying 15,000 for 20 minutes of frustration to 58,000 for the same work, and almost nobody's noticed because everyone's still traumatized from the last 6 patches. Distribution centers that used to feel like charity work now pay what high-risk bounties should have been paying all along. The loot tables got completely restructured, the box spawns follow actual logic now, and those Ninetales enemies? They'll flank you like they've been taking notes from your Tarkov streams. Patch 4.3 turned every bunker in Stanton into a frontier fighter convention, which made ground missions about as playable as quantum jumping through Pyro on a bad server. So when 4.4 PTU dropped, the smart money was on checking literally anything else first. Nyx seemed like the obvious choice. New system, new content, fresh start. Turns out Nyx is about as exciting as watching paint dry in 0G. So the fallback was Stanton bunkers, just to see. Just to confirm they were still broken so we could all move on with our lives. Except they're not broken anymore, they're actually profitable. And if you've been avoiding ground content because the last 10 times you tried it, the mission wouldn't complete, the enemies wouldn't spawn, or you'd get a trespassing charge for doing exactly what the contract asked. This might be the patch that changes your loadout priorities. Bunker missions are FPS combat contracts, where you either defend a facility against waves of attackers or clear out hostiles who've already taken control. The game calls them mercenary work. What they actually are is a loot piñata disguised as a shooting gallery. Assuming CIG hasn't broken the spawn tables that particular week, most players treat these as pure mission payout activities. You take the contract, you shoot the things, you collect your credits, you leave. That's leaving probably 60% of the actual value on the table. The loot economy in bunkers, weapons, armor, medical supplies, ammunition, and all the random vendor trash scattered in boxes can easily double or triple your earnings per run if you know what spawns where and what's worth the inventory space. The conventional wisdom says bunkers are too buggy, too inconsistent, and too low-paying compared to just running bounties in a constellation. That was true in 4.3. In 4.4, the spawn logic got rebuilt. The mission completion triggers actually fire when they're supposed to, and the payment structure reflects something closer to the actual risk involved. For solo players who understand the box system and can handle FPS combat without relying on broken AI to carry them, bunkers are now the most consistent credit per hour activity in Stanton. Loading into that first Foxwell enforcement contract, expectations were somewhere between "this won't work" and "this will work, but the reward will be insulting." The mission marker pointed to what the contract called a derelict outpost on Ita, one of Hurston's moons. Derelict outposts are usually good for looting, because they don't have active defenses. This one had turrets, active turrets. Because it wasn't a derelict outpost at all, it was a fully operational bunker, and the mission text was just wrong. Classic CIG attention to detail. But after clearing the exterior hostiles and landing the Prowler, which has become the daily driver despite a general policy of avoiding alien ships, because they usually feel like flying a piece of abstract art. The loot situation was immediately different from previous patches. The enemies weren't carrying the usual trash tier gear. One NPC had a full Cara rifle with ammunition. Another had an FS9 and a heavy backpack, the kind that actually increases your carry capacity instead of just looking different. These weren't random spawns. These were intentional loot table entries that someone at CIG actually thought about. The Prowler has storage compartments that most people don't know about. 150,000 micro SCU above the passenger seats, 300,000 above the pilot area. You can dump your starting backpack in there and immediately swap to whatever heavy pack the enemies drop, which effectively doubles your loot capacity before you even enter the facility. Found a boom tube rocket launcher on one of the exterior guards. That's new. That wasn't in the standard loot pools before. Neither were the LRT mining modules sitting in one of the interior boxes, which makes zero sense thematically, but they're worth decent credits to the right vendor. You've probably been in that exact moment where you clear the last hostile, the mission objective updates to complete, and then you try to leave and suddenly every turret and friendly NPC turns red, and you're trespassing in the facility you were literally contracted to defend. Or the version where you arrive at the bunker and no enemies ever spawn. So you're just standing there wondering if you're supposed to wait or if the server's dead, or if this is some new gameplay loop where the real mission is questioning your life choices. The bug reports on Spectrum have been documenting these failures for months. Multiple patches, same issues, different creative variations on the same fundamental problems. The box distribution system in 4.4 follows actual patterns now, instead of feeling like someone rolled dice to decide what spawns where. Standard non-hostile bunkers, the ones where you're defending against waves rather than clearing entrenched enemies, have consistent spawn points. 2 small green weapon boxes in the cargo area, always the same location, containing ammunition, occasional pistols like the Arclight, and weapon attachments laser pointers. Scopes, the stuff you'd normally buy at center mass, but now you're just finding it lying around. Down in the lab area, which is always in the lower section of these facilities, 2 red medical boxes spawn with med pens and medical refills. The refills are actually valuable now, because the injury system got adjusted to be less punishing. You're not constantly dealing with Tier 3 injuries that take 15 minutes to heal anymore. The medical economy makes sense again. Blue boxes are everywhere, scattered throughout the entire facility in quantities that feel excessive until you realize they're basically vendor trash containers. Clothing, food, beer, Hadanite silver ingots. War metals that serve no purpose except to be sold. Individually, none of it's impressive. Collectively, it's an extra 10 to 15,000 per bunker if you're willing to spend the time looting methodically. The real value shift happens in hostile bunkers. The E-chart security contracts, the ones where you're clearing out Ninetales or other hostile factions, have completely different loot tables. After fighting through multiple waves in the second bunker run, the facility was wall-to-wall corpses carrying high-tier gear, different weapon variants, multiple Cara rifles, FS9S with full magazines, enough ammunition that buying more from a shop becomes completely unnecessary. You can gear up from zero, literally spawn with nothing but a pistol, and walk out of a hostile bunker fully equipped for the next 3 missions. Picture this. Second bunker, E-cart security contract. Feeling confident because the first run went smooth. Basic armor, trusty pistol, 1 med pen. Walking into the main corridor expecting the usual brain-dead AI that stands in the open and shoots at walls. 3 angles of fire open up simultaneously. These NPCs aren't the same enemies from previous patches. One of them moves deliberately around a cargo container. Not the random pathing where they walk into walls, but an actual flanking maneuver. Before there's time to react properly, there's a Tier 3 injury, and it's a scramble for cover while frantically trying to loot a nearby corpse for med pens. Mid-firefight hands shaking, health dropping. The genuine thought process of, this is either really impressive AI or really terrible desync, and either way I'm about to die. Turns out it was the AI. They're frighteningly responsive now. You need actual FPS fundamentals, aim, positioning, cover usage, or they will chip you down methodically. But when that bunker finally cleared, contract complete, 44,000 payout, probably another 30,000 in sellable gear scattered across 24 corpses, the difficulty felt justified. The reward matched the risk. That's been missing from Star Citizen's ground content for years. CIG added a bunch of new bunker locations specifically around Hurston, separate from the 4.3.2 event content. These aren't the North Rock missions with the big white boxes full of railguns and grenade launchers. Those appear to be event-specific and may or may not carry over to live. But the standard mercenary contracts now include high-risk bounties at HDPC, Farnsway paying 44,000 and expel trespassers missions at the same location, paying 58,000 2 patches ago. These same mission types paid 15,000, maybe 20,000 if you were lucky. The payment structure finally reflects something resembling appropriate compensation for the time investment and risk involved. And because multiple contracts can spawn in the same region, you can stack them. Grab the Foxwell entry-level contract and the E-chart security evaluation simultaneously. If they're both pointing to Hurston's moons, hit them both in one flight, and you're looking at 100,000 plus in combined payouts and loot in under an hour. For players just getting into ground content, start with the non-hostile defense missions where Hurston security NPCs spawn in to help you fight the waves. You can literally position yourself strategically and let the friendly AI do half the work while focusing on looting between waves. The friendly NPCs are surprisingly competent now. They'll actually kill enemies instead of just standing there absorbing bullets. The tactical detail that makes this efficient, ship choice matters. The Prowler works great because of those hidden storage compartments. Cutlass Black has the cargo grid and can fit a ground vehicle. Even a Pisces with a Nursa ground vehicle works if you want to park 6 to 10 kilometers away from bunkers with active anti-aircraft turrets and drive the rest of the way. The Nursa's size 1 repeaters can actually destroy the turrets if you're patient, and the turrets don't shoot back at ground vehicles. They used to respawn instantly. Now they stay destroyed. You know what? If you're still watching at this point, you're probably the kind of player who actually cares about the details instead of just skimming for quick tips. Subscribe if you want more of this. Deep dives into the systems CIG doesn't explain, and the mechanics that separate profitable gameplay from just burning time. No fluff, no speculation, just tested information from PTU. The Reddit threads about 4.4 are cautiously optimistic, which for the Star Citizen community is basically a standing ovation. There's still plenty of skepticism, players who haven't touched ground missions since 3.17, because they've been burned too many times by broken objectives, missing enemies, and trespassing charges that make no sense. That's valid. CIG's track record with FPS missions is 2 steps forward, 1 step back, then sideways through a wall into unrelated bugs. But the Spectrum feedback threads are showing consistent mission completion reports. actual loot spawns, enemies that don't immediately turn hostile after you've cleared the bunker, and friendly NPCs spawn in. That last bug alone made bunkers unplayable for months. When the baseline expectation is maybe it won't be broken this time, and the reality is it actually works, that's worth noting. The efficient approach: take a ship with decent storage, Prowler, Cutlass Black, even a Constellation if you're planning to hit multiple bunkers in one session. Start with minimal gear, pistol, one med pen, basic armor. You'll upgrade from the bunker itself within the first 5 minutes. Prioritize Hurston contracts right now. That's where the new bunker spawns are concentrated and where the mission logic seems most stable. Learn the box locations. Cargo area for weapon boxes, lab area downstairs for medical boxes, blue boxes scattered everywhere for bulk vendor loot. Don't leave immediately after the objective completes. Loot methodically. Check every corpse for upgraded backpacks first. That increases your carry capacity for everything else. Then prioritize Cara rifles, FS9s, and the new ammunition types that didn't exist in previous patches. If you're doing hostile bunkers, bring a tractor beam multi-tool for moving larger containers. Watch for desanking enemies. If they're teleporting or not reacting to hits, back out of the engagement and give the server 30 seconds to catch up. Better to wait than to die to phantom bullets and lose all your looted gear. And the Prowler costs significantly less than it should right now in PTU. Probably a pricing mistake that'll get fixed before live. If that price carries over even briefly, it's worth grabbing for bunker running alone. 3 things changed in 4.4. Bunker missions actually complete, they pay what they should have been paying all along, and the loot economy is finally worth engaging with instead of ignoring. What's been your worst bunker mission failure in Star Citizen? The trespassing bug? The infinite enemy spawn? The one where you cleared everything and got 0 reward? Drop it in the comments. Misery loves company, and maybe CIG will eventually read them. Let me know if the distribution center missions on Microtech got the same improvements, or if this is just a Hurston thing. The bar is low. Let's see if CIG can clear it. Keep your med pen stocked and your Cara loaded. See you in the next one.